Ferrari is currently in their worst start to a season in over a decade, dating back to 2010 when the scoring system underwent revisions, and it seems like the team doesn't have much to look forward to in the 2023 season, with Sainz slamming the team for going in the wrong direction and Leclerc making depressing statements in terms of his goals for every race in 2023. One thing remains to be cleared up. Why did Ferrari turn into the fourth best team after being so close to the championship fight last year? And is there any way that we can see the Scuderia being competitive in 2023? The start of the 2023 season couldn't have been worse for Ferrari. The Maranello team has just 26 points, with Leclerc tied with Hülkenberg for 6 points in the championship. The Monegasque suffered from reliability issues in the first race in Bahrain, something that forced him to take a 10-place grid penalty in Jeddah due to a change of the electronic unit. And in the third race of the season, he touched wheels with Stroll and beached his car in turn 3. That results in 2 DNFs out of 3 races, with Leclerc winning these 2 events last year. On the other hand, Sainz was dismantled by the FIA's 5-second penalty in the closing stages of the race, and even without that, he didn't seem to have enough in him to fight Alonso and Hamilton up front. True, he did show great pace in overtaking and climbing all the way back to P4, but to be honest, this isn't what Ferrari had in mind when they fired Binotto, a guy that had been with Ferrari for 28 years, and brought in Frederic Vasseur as their new team principal. Before we continue, make sure to like our video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification post. One of the things that Ferrari needs to understand, or has probably understood by now, is that their development path is the wrong one. We are hearing constantly about Mercedes having to change their sidepod design due to the uniqueness of it, but we do not hear anything about Ferrari having to change something on the SF23, as it turns out to be the 4th fastest car on the grid. Sure, the sidepod design is a very interesting one, with the chunky look, and it does help with the aerodynamic boost of the car, but the rest of the car is a total mess. Even though Sainz managed to be the fastest car in Bahrain in terms of straight-line speed, the aerodynamic prospects of the car need to be worked on as well, because the SF23 isn't as able to brake late and accelerate early as Aston Martin and Red Bull. Neither is Mercedes, to be honest with you. But the Silver Arrows have found some promising pace out of the W14, and now that they are changing the design, we cannot help but ask, is this the next step for Ferrari? Obviously, Vasseur doesn't even want to hear about it, even though his driver Sainz spoke publicly about the current design of the SF23, saying that it's not working and they need to take another road. The Frenchman was more than proud to say that while Ferrari is having the worst start of their season, they do not have a B-spec car waiting around behind the curtains, and the progress the team made in Australia is definitely a promising one. Not according to the drivers, and to be honest, not according to us. You cannot go from being a championship competitive team into the 4th fastest team, passed by Aston Martin and Mercedes in 2 consecutive weekends. Sainz has spoken about the superiority of Red Bull and how the Austrian team manages to do so well as what the future holds for Ferrari, as the Spaniard added. At the moment, the Red Bull is superior everywhere. It is superior in quali, in races, in straight-line speed. They are superior in medium/low corners. They are superior with tyre management, superior over the curbs and bumps. It just shows that we clearly need to change something. We need to go and check something very different from where we are now. I think the extremely good performance at the start of last season made us. I think keep pushing with this concept, with this project of car, but I think we realise now that Red Bull has a clear advantage everywhere, and that we need to start looking to our right and to our left. Obviously, what Ferrari brought in 2022 was one of the best possible ways that you could design an F1 car. The side pods and the general look of the car made it so good that even with porpoising, the results in the first couple of races were near perfection. However, reliability issues and tactic blunders took a huge toll on the F175 and the entire 2022 season. So it could very well mean that entering 2023, Ferrari thought the issues with how the car looks wouldn't be present and therefore wouldn't have to be dealt with. Little did they know, they went up against one of the most intelligent minds in the sport in Adrian Newey, and apart from the genius that works in Red Bull, you have teams like Aston Martin and Mercedes that are constantly gaining pace, with the Silver Arrows accepting where they went wrong and ready to rebuild from scratch. While this is not a topic that Ferrari would want to have right now in their garage, with Vasseur being in charge for only 3 races, it's definitely something they need to do if they want to be championship contenders. But stubbornness in the sport is something that can take a toll on many things, such as the team spirit and the team's efforts to actually be better. And we've seen it with Aston Martin in the previous 2 years, as well as right now with Mercedes. When talking about the future of the team, Frederic Vasseur had one thing to say: we are moving in the same direction that was set by us before the beginning of the season, with small tweaks to the big picture. When asked whether the design of the SF23 would change, the Frenchman elaborated, "No, I don't think so. We have a flow of updates that will come. Not for Baku, because we have the aero package for the level of downforce, and with the sprint race it's not the easiest one. But for Miami, Imola, not Monaco and Barcelona, at each race we'll have an update on the car. We are sticking to the plan. We have made some adjustments in terms of balance and behaviour, and it was much better in Melbourne, and will continue in this direction. It's not a B car if that is what you want to say. We won't come with something completely different. We will continue to update this one, and we'll try to update massively." Well, I don't know how Vasseur managed to come to the conclusion that the improvement in Melbourne was big, when Sainz and Leclerc qualified behind both Mercedes cars, and Leclerc was even behind Stroll. On the other hand, Leclerc wasn't even able to complete 3 turns in the race, so I really have no idea how the Frenchman was able to gather data from the Monegasque's car. But be as it is, Ferrari is not in a good place right now. Sure, there will always be restrictions in terms of budget cap and development paths, which is why it's not the easiest thing to say, "I'm rebuilding the entire philosophy." But at some point you need to ask yourself, is this worth it? You have a super talented driver who, when asked about what his goal for 2023 is, answered just to finish the race. This was a championship candidate 1 year ago, and to bring his morale down to this level isn't acceptable at any given point. To add fuel to the fire, Leclerc's contract is expiring at the end of the 2024 season, but if things continue the way they do, rest assured that Leclerc will be looking elsewhere to continue his racing career. There is a very interesting situation developing right now at Mercedes, and with Leclerc being told that his contract extension isn't the most important thing for Ferrari right now, there is definitely a chance that we'll see the Monegasque race somewhere else. As for Sainz, he hasn't really proven that he has the capacity to be a team leader, although he has been given the chance multiple times in his career. So whether it's the car or his inability to be a precise driver, that's up for you guys to decide. In my honest opinion, Sainz is just an average driver who had a couple of good years at McLaren and Renault, and that's as big as he could possibly get in his career. Not to mention that Vasseur keeps taking shots at the FIA for the penalty given to Red Bull, and instead of him focusing on making Ferrari better and more competitive. His ultimate goal is to throw dirt at his rivals. Yes, the penalty may not have been the fairest one, but at this point it doesn't make any sense for you to go back and look at things that have been done. With this being said, what do you think about Ferrari's chances in 2023? Do you think that the team is currently in a crisis and needs to enter rebuild mode? Or do you think that they have chances to change things and be championship contenders down the road? Let us know in the comments below, and after you do that, make sure to watch our next video, one that explains Ricciardo's current situation for 2024.